tossers have thrown it out the door with their behaviour this week. They should be ashamed of themselves. They should absolutely look at themselves in the mirror and wonder what the have they been doing. They're hissing at us and calling us cheats in the Lord's long room, and they have the gall to say, talk to us about the spirit of cricket. Absolute bullshit.
There's a big appeal, it's hit him on the pad, he's out! Lions gone, New South Wales are 9 down! Onto Sydney Road, and it's hit a car! Oh, I think it's hit a car! What a way to bring up your 50!
All you want is to leave it all behind. Now there is a simple remedy to stay fit for all eternity.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cricket Unfiltered podcast special episode. And we have a special guest. Maitlan Brown is joining me. Sixers star, Breakers star, podcast star, media star. She's been on the podcast before. Maitlan, welcome back.
Thanks for having me back. What an intro, hey?
Yeah, bit of hype music to get you in the mood.
No, it's great to be back. Big week ahead. So looking forward to chatting a little bit about, upcoming exciting stuff.
Yeah, great to have you on. Cricket New South Wales are really excited that the Breakers have made it into the WNCL final for the first time. I think it's in 5 years that you've been there, playing Queensland on Sunday afternoon. Must be pumped.
It is so exciting. For it to all kind of finally come together. You know, we've been working so hard to build as a team. Like, we've had quite a young squad over the last couple of years, and we've been down in the ditches with pre-season. So it's really nice to finally reap the rewards of all the hard work that's gone into it. So we're really looking forward to it, and for it to come about the way it did, and have it come down to the last game. I think one is really exciting for the competition in particular to know how close all the teams are, but two, we actually just so happened to have a barbecue together, and because of the time difference, we were all able to watch the game unfold and really celebrate the moment of getting in the final. So it's not a nice feeling when you have to rely on other teams and results going our way, but we did as much as we could. That was in our control, and the universe has given us the reward of a final, which we're excited for.
Yeah, so for everyone watching and listening, so you played, was it ACT on Sunday? You finish, you win, and then you've got to wait for the WA v South Australia game to win. If South Australia win, then they knock you out and play in the final against Queensland. But then they fell just short in a run chase. I think it was only, not many runs. So you
off the last over.
12 off the last over. So you all must have been very nervous watching at this barbecue.
Yeah. So I guess as a little bit of context, like, we played 2 games against ACT, and in the lead up, we were all pretty clear that, we all knew that it was going to come down to the wire, and best possible result was that we'd get the bonus point. So we definitely were talking about trying to get the bonus point, but unfortunately, as the game unfolds, you kind of have to, channel your focus onto just winning the game. So we didn't quite get the bonus points, but we did what we had to do, which was definitely win the last 2. And it came up to South Australia and WA, and because they were playing over in Perth, there was that time delay, and Frankie Nicklin, before we knew kind of that it was all going to come down to the wire, we already had planned a barbecue. So it was really nice. We all scooted off from Cricket Central over to Coogee, and they had the big screen on, and we were so nervous. But when we left Cricket Central, WA was 6 down. So and we had a rain delay as well, so it was kind of on the TVs in the building. So we did have an idea as to how they were tracking, but to be all together, as the wickets fell and as it came down to the last over, we were very nervous. We got our phones out and recorded the moments, and you could all see us very unsettled and very excited, and then kind of waiting to see what unfolded. And it was just really special to be able to be all together for that moment. knowing how hard the squads worked. As I mentioned before, yeah, we just knew that we had to kind of grow and develop over the last couple years. And yeah, it's just really nice to finally, yeah, as I said, get the reward for all of that hard work, because we put so much effort and energy into it.
Yeah, that's great. I did see some footage of some of your teammates jumping in the pool at the barbecue to celebrate in the full Breakers
Yeah.
gear.
That was Sarah Coit. Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the start of her playing. She's played in 9 WNCL finals and won all of them. So, yeah, she was super pumped to be in another final, which is cool.
And what's the rivalry like with Queensland?
I mean, it matches the state of origin, to be honest.
Wow.
Yeah, I think Queensland are such a tough squad to beat, and yeah, it's really cool to almost have like this full circle moment, knowing that we're going back to AB right where we started the season with 2 really convincing wins, and that really set the tone for our season, to be honest. Yeah, we had a bit of a roller coaster time up there. There are a couple girls who were injured. I did my calf. There were a couple of niggles going around. There was another girl in hospital. Like, it was all
Jeez.
happening. Yeah, Claire Moore, she had to leave mid-game basically to go to hospital. So
Oh no.
we were yeah, we were getting absolutely slammed in terms of, yeah, little resilience and friction pieces. But yeah, for us to start the season with those 2 wins against Queensland, um, and for it to kind of come back to that moment is really, really exciting and special. And yeah, the rivalry is really strong. I think not only New South Wales, but I think every team likes to beat Queensland. So yeah, I'm just really excited that it's going to be us up against them.
Yeah, I was sort of reflecting on this Breakers story in preparation for this interview, and from what I've seen from the Breakers, they've been in a really unique situation. You know, they were so dominant for so long, 20 titles in almost 20 years, but not quite. But they were so dominant, and then I don't. I don't know how much has changed within New South Wales, but what has changed is women's cricket has transformed dramatically, and now the WNCL teams are in a situation, I guess, is similar to the sort of men's teams where, you know, New South Wales doesn't get many of your international players playing in the WNCL anymore. So all of a sudden, sort of 4 or 5 years ago, all of the internationals started to come out of WNCL cricket, and you had all these sort of baby breakers coming into the side trying to find their feet. And you know, it's a great story that in the last few years, you know, you've been struggling, and now you've taken that step as a team, and it's without the Healeys and the Litchfields and the Perrys. Well, she's gone to Victoria now, but you know what I mean, it's without the big stars.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's yeah, there was kind of a few girls who definitely got chucked in the deep end when I guess the Aussie women's cricket calendar got busier and busier. But what an opportunity it's presented for those young players. And yeah, it can be tough going at the beginning. Other squads feel similar. Obviously, the Victorians have a lot of Aussie girls, and when they kind of leave their squad, they can be exposed to girls with lesser experience. But I think, yeah, I think it's an awesome opportunity. And I think this year in particular, after those, you know, previous years of the Aussies not being available, and that bringing about opportunities for young girls, we're now kind of seeing the growth of those players, and that's why I think the competition is so close this year. So I think, yeah, I mean, I really hope they bring in semis next year, because I think, yeah, the competition is so tight, and yeah, I think we deserve a little bit more cricket, and I think semis would be a really cool evolution of WNCL. Yeah, it's awesome to see the growth of the game, and those young players stepping up, and even the girls who have so much experience really become like a staple of each team. Talia Wilson, she's played. Sorry about the cockatoos in the background. I hope they're not too
Like it.
noisy, but
No, it's
um,
atmospheric.
yeah, Talia Wilson's become such a staple of our team, and I mean, she's absolutely led from the front. So it's awesome to see her now, you know, be a leader, not only on the field and in that tactical space, but also, yeah, with her skills and leading with the bat is really special.
Yeah, there was a couple of seasons there where they were broadcasting a lot of women's premier cricket, and I was commentating it a lot. So I saw Annika Leroyd when she was quite young playing in a women's premier cricket final and doing really well there. And so it's great for me to see what she's been able to do this season, sort of taking that leap in the WNCL.
Yeah, I agree. I think she's another player who's, was chucked in the deep end and got these opportunities when she was younger. And I think she really relishes under pressure. And it's really cool to see her put together performances this year. She had a couple of good cameos in the Big Bash for the Sydney Thunder over the last couple of years. But yeah, definitely, she's played a massive role for us with the bat. And she's played some pretty incredible knocks. Very crucial knocks for us. So I'm hoping that her and T can maintain their partnership kind of vibe that they've got going at the moment on Sunday. But yeah, I mean, super proud of Annie. She's easily one of the hardest working athletes that I've ever played against. She's extremely strong, and it's just awesome to see that correlate to her performances on the field.
Fantastic. You mentioned there the possibility of semi-finals in the WNCL. I think what would be great is at least a second and third place playoff for that final spot. So maybe the first team locks up the home final, but then 2 and 3 can play off to be the other finalist.
Yeah, I think it'd be really cool. Like, yeah, we saw how tight the competition was this year, and bonus points play a really big part in the season. And it's funny, you mentioned that you listened to JJ's the podcast with JJ, and she spoke about the Queenslanders jokingly saying that they changed the rules because Queensland were getting double bonus points and they weren't winning as many games, but they were still up on top of the ladder because they kind of had that in play. And it'd be interesting to see kind of how that impacts the next couple of years if we don't have semis. Maybe we see, record run chases and things like that because girls know how important because teams know how important that bonus point becomes. So it'd be interesting to see kind of the evolution of that.
Yeah, I can't wait for the final this Sunday afternoon. I think it starts at 1:35. I was thinking the Breakers will be in prime time.
Yeah, how good. It's going to be really cool playing a day nighter.
Is that
quite interesting.
Is that Queensland time? I better get this right.
You know what? If I'm being honest, I don't know what time we start, but I know it's a day nighter.
I'm gonna find out for you. Because Queensland have their annoying 1 hour time difference.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. So it's 1:35 Queensland time, 2:35 where it really matters.
Exactly. I love that.
Are interesting. So your prime time Breakers.
Under lights, day nighter as well. We had our scouting meeting the other day, talked about potential dew, obviously it's pretty humid conditions that might come about. We're hoping to get a session we're hoping to get a session under lights because we haven't fielded no team has fielded under lights the whole season. So apart from Big Bash when we play them, but that was back in October, November. So it's really cool opportunity to know that we can hopefully get a few fans there, considering it's a Sunday. And Sunday Arvo Sesh sounds pretty good at AB if you ask me. So we'd love to get a bit of a crowd in, whether that be majority Queensland crowd. It's always just a bit of a vibe when you have a few in the audience.
Yeah, well, if you're listening up in Queensland, head down. It's going to be a great game. Look, on this podcast, we've talked about this. I don't actually think anyone else cares about what I'm going to talk about, but this is the only podcast that's flying this flag. I was disappointed with the Spring Challenge T20 tournament. It was fine, but I would love to see I would like to see T20 cricket brought into the WNCL, so everyone plays everyone in a state-based T20 game, like before the Big Bash went franchise, like New South Wales v Queensland, and you just tack it on to they come down to play a one day, and then the next day you play the 20 over game.
Look, I agree with you. I think I don't agree with you in the sense that I don't think it wasn't disappointing. I think it just still had a purpose. Like, I think I think there's a place for the spring series and an additional T20 state-based comp.
Diplomatic,
Because
diplomatic
no,
answer.
no, I genuinely do think that, because I think the spring series gave an opportunity. Someone like Kiva, for instance, had she
Yeah.
have not have played in the spring series, then I don't know if she would have, been exposed as much as he did. Same with Elsa Hunter, and same with maybe Karis Becker, like a few of the
Kate
younger
Pelly.
girls. So
Kate
yeah,
Pell.
there's all of these, even like Kate Peterson, the opportunity for her to have a crack with the bat, I think gave her so much confidence for her game. So I think aspects of the spring series were really crucial for that Big Bash season. And I think that it would be awesome to keep that. But I think knowing that there's also a place for T20 state-based tournaments, playing in like Breakers, Victoria, I think that's something that the players really want. And we were kind of hoping for that, but then the spring series sort of happened instead. So yeah, I think that's kind of where I sit with it. I think that we should have both. And I
Yeah.
know it sounds diplomatic, but I do think that there was a pretty good like a
Oh,
lot of opportunity came out of it. But in
yeah.
terms of like what it's maybe like let's get clarity on like what the purpose of this tournament is.
Yeah.
Is it for like the highest quality state domestic cricket? Probably not. But is it going to present an opportunity and continue to develop and grow? 100%. So I think that like, yeah, just getting a bit of clarity on the purpose of it, what it kind of looks like in the future, aligning with the purpose, and then is there space for something else? Like how are we going to grow the game? And I think if we have that T20 comp, I think then we can push for full-time state contracts, because at the moment we're still not full-time, which is crazy to believe. Yeah, genuinely, we're like 0.7 or point something like that.
Really.
So I think having that could help us push to be full-time, which is something that, yeah, we've been after for a long time.
Yeah, I'm all for that. I guess from an outsider's point of view, I see what you're saying with the young players, because I commentated on some of the games. It was great to see them given more opportunities, more overs, more time in the middle. But when I stepped back and I spoke to a few people in the community, it was a little bit confusing for people, because it was just before the WBBL, but they didn't have full WBBL teams. It wasn't like a totally different time of the year. Like if you say played like a WBBL light now, then it wouldn't get confused. So I just think there were some branding issues, like
Yeah,
the
I can see that.
the Sixers are it's anyway, that was just one thing.
I think
I was
I was gonna say, I think what would be really cool is that like I think that time, or that if we're talking about like branding and stuff, how can we kind of get the most of that? Like, does that mean we can take Big Bash like regionally, and can we get more exposure to, like can we travel to, I don't know, Coffs Harbour? We don't get to go to Coffs Harbour,
yeah
and bring about opportunities where we're kind of like, reaching a rural audience, and similar to like what the NRL do in their preseason games. Like they go out to, they went out to Mudgee and played, and like bringing the Big Bash rurally. I know it might not be the full strength team, but you still have like myself, Cheats, like a lot of girls who are a staple of their franchise teams in those areas. So we can kind of connect with fans in that sense. I reckon that's a missed opportunity
yeah
potentially, but maybe that's a money thing. I'm not sure.
no, definitely a good point. And you're from the country originally, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm from Wingham, so that's why it's close to my heart. I like to play at the local would be the dream. To bring the Sixers to Wingham.
Oh, Wingham would never have had such a day. Everyone would take the day off work.
Hey, they probably would.
Yeah. So on to the WBBL a little bit. You had a tough year because you mentioned doing your calf. That sort of went into the WBBL season, and you couldn't bowl at all. So that must have been quite frustrating.
Yeah. Well, I actually could bowl for the second half of the tournament.
Wow, they just weren't bowling you.
Yeah, I mean we've got a fabulous problem of having 10 bowlers.
Yeah.
So I think it's really tough to, I guess, when you're in a team like that and you're already halfway through a tournament, you kind of have your blueprint in a sense, and trying to find your way back into the blueprint is really hard. And so then I just had to kind of take on that role at with the bat, and unfortunately, I came in at a couple tricky times, and I just wasn't able to execute. So I I feel like I was in my flop era slightly for Big Bash. But yeah, it did make it a bit tricky and frustrating with the calf injury, because I mean, I would have really loved to have those cockatoos, seriously.
Yeah, they're not happy that you weren't bowled. They're like, Pez, bold,
Yeah.
Maitlan.
Yeah. Look, I was ready. I was ready to bowl and do whatever needed to be done for the team. But it was not to be. So hopefully next year, and hopefully I can come into it fully fit and flying, and be one of the options at the forefront.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's hard if you to sort of find your feet in a competition like that. But like you bowl, if you haven't been bowling, to try and get into rhythm mid comps can be hard. And sort of, I guess that kind of embodies the Sixers season. I mean, finish 6, frustration with injuries, players coming in and out of availability, couple of close games, could have gone the other way. It must have been a frustrating season.
Yeah, it was. And also I feel like at times, one thing that was really frustrating was that game against the Sydney Thunder. Like, that was a must win for us, and we had the game, I feel like, in our favour, and that the rain kind of brought it in. But then you think, well, you can't just have it all come down to the one game. You've got to sorry, is that noisy?
No.
Okay. You can't just kind of have it all come down to the one game. That means, you have to really value the games that you play earlier on in the comp as well. And it just felt like one of those seasons where things just weren't in our favour. Obviously that super over in Tassie was also another crucial moment. So it's also really hard when I feel like we were really reliant on Pez, and I feel like a lot of teams who do really well in those tournaments, it's contributions from everyone almost. So I think, we just probably lacked in that space.
Yep. What did you think of the shorter WBBL? So from 14 games to 10 games, did you like it?
I mean, if it flew by, it always does. So it almost went even quicker. I think because I was injured, I kind of would have liked to have a few more games, but I think in terms of staying competitive with other leagues around the world, I think it's something that we just kind of had to do to be more enticing for those internationals, knowing we've got like kind of a smaller window, and probably even smaller next year with the WPL changing. I mean, it seems like a reasonable amount, not too little, not too many. Very diplomatic. Yeah. Classic.
Well,
how did you find it as a fan?
I liked the shorter competition. I love cricket, so 14-game Big Bash and WBBL season is my dream, but unfortunately not everyone's as obsessed with this game as I am. So I do like the fact that when it's a 10-game season, it does have a bit more momentum, and as you say, just if you start slowly, then it can really affect the tournament. So every game becomes more important. So I do like that about the shorter competition. Selfishly, I like to go to more games, so it was disappointing from that point of view. And you played in the 100, so I've sort of been thinking a lot about the WBBL and the sort of the health and the future. When you mentioned the WPL, are they moving that to January next year? Is that when it's being played?
Yeah, I've heard.
I heard the same.
Yeah, so I've heard. I mean, if you ask Hannah Darlington, she'd know. She's the biggest cricket nuffy.
Yeah. But with the WBBL, it's you've got the WPL that's getting these huge crowds at the moment, really growing. You've got the 100 that plays the double headers, which you won. Was it last year or the year before you won the 100?
2 years ago, yeah. 2 years ago.
So 100 winner, Maitlan Brown, title winner.
First title. That's my first title of my career. Oh my God.
Wow. Did you do those lights?
When you do this, woo!
Love it. So So and the 100 are doing the double headers, so they get big crowds. The Poms love to go in there and start drinking and stuff for like 6-7 hours. That's all I can
Bands.
do. What was that?
They've got bands
Yep.
playing gigs
Yep.
and they've got the DJ. They bring the
Yep.
vibes, the 100.
Okay, and then so I look at the WBBL and I understand why it is where it is, but that particular period, and I go to all the games in Sydney, it is tough to get big crowds because it's in the run, like it's right at the end of the school year, so you got families that are busy, it's hectic time of the year, and I just feel I don't know what the next stage for the WBBL is. Have you thought about this?
Yeah, I think a lot of us as players are pretty annoyed that it is during I guess the school term. It would be great if we had it during school holidays where we could actually get kids to the games, because I think having kids at the grounds, and you can't be what you can't see, and if they're there interacting with us, I think that can be really inspiring. So it's frustrating that it is where it is, I guess, at the moment. But I think a lot of it's dictated by the broadcast, because we do get a lot of watch time on the telly. So it's really hard because you just can't really do much about it. Yeah.
Well, absolutely, and because you speak about the broadcast, it's one of the highest rated sporting competitions in the country, men's or women's. I think it's fourth or fifth, like it's right up there. So the broadcast is getting great value for money. If you moved it to say double headers in the summer, say there was an overlap between the WBBL and the BBL or something, well then WBBL loses prime time. The broadcasters aren't happy. So it is a juggling act, but I just feel at the moment that they haven't quite got the crowds right. I do think, though, moving to like home games is a good idea. Like the Thunder playing at Drummoyne, the Sixers playing at North Sydney. Like people are habitual; they like to do the same thing. So having that stability of a home ground for teams, I think, might help.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, I just missed that last little bit there.
I was just saying this. Yeah, I was just saying the stability of having a home ground, I think, helps. The Sixers at North Sydney, the Chunda at, that's my nickname for them, you can use that. The Chunda at Drummoyne Oval. I think they actually need to do more of that. Less traveling around, more, this is our home, come and see us 5 times a year.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that it's awesome and really special anytime Sixers get to play at North Sydney Oval, but even still, like when we play the Thunder at their home ground, used to be Sixers, so we'll take a win there as a Sixer. But I think it's awesome, the atmosphere and they really do feel like a home ground for us. So we love playing there, and I think I would really love to move back to double headers as well. You mentioned the crossover. I think that would be really cool. Potentially, we play a bit on our own, crossover with the men, and then they kind of transition. So, I think like we've established that we can have a tournament in our own window. Like we've built the Aussie women's team have built such a fan base, and I don't think it's a backward step moving to those double headers, because I think like from a marketing or point of view, like why not leverage an audience that's already there? And they might only catch a little bit, and then next time they go, actually, oh yeah, I might just stay for a bit, I might come early. And I think there is opportunities missed at the moment, kind of having the separation. I think also like from a synergy with men's and women's teams, like within the club, I think that's kind of a bit disconnected, because like the men at the moment, they're playing Shield, they're busy doing all things when we're in the middle of our Big Bash season, and and then come their season, we kind of don't really cross over it at all, whereas so I feel like you kind of lose the connection in that sense.
I like that. So you favor the WBBL ending in December as the BBL starting, and there's like a week or two of crossover.
Yeah, I would like that as a player, but I think a lot of it's dictated by the broadcast. And,
I'm going to quote you on that, Maitlan. I'm going to quote you on that.
That's fine. I've said it on the podcast. So's Hen.
Good.
We
Good.
Yeah, like we've spoken to the girls, a few England girls who play in the 100, and we talk about how, how it really feels like one club, being over there, and the way that they do it, I think, is a fantastic blueprint for how franchise cricket can be done, in a really entertaining point of view. So, I think, yeah.
I remember when the Sixers played the Chunder at the SCG for a derby before the WBBL went standalone, and I think Stellenberg hit the winning runs, or somebody did, and then there was a big crowd. There was already 15,000 people there for the men's game, so it was really big atmosphere. And as both teams were there, the Thunder men and women, the Sixers men and women, so it was a good vibe about it.
I think one thing that's also really interesting is the fact that I guess, if you're comparing like the 100 and WBBL, might be a bit different with India, but in terms of like the grounds that they have in the UK is almost like the middle ground between like North Sydney and SCG. It kind of is like, Trent Bridge or the Ageas
20K.
Bowl. Like, they're like kind of small stadiums in a sense. So I think they're really lucky that they have grounds like that they can actually fill, and it almost give that sense of atmosphere that we would have when we have an SCG field. So I think when you kind of look at it like that, that's something that I kind of have as a bit of perspective. It's not like they're filling the MCG. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And if 5,000 people are there, it feels buzzy, whereas if 5,000 people at the SCG, it feels quiet. Thanks for giving me your thoughts. I really love talking to you about the WBBL because, I think about it a lot. We've got to wrap this up, but you were on Mena's Masterclass a couple of years ago where I interviewed you. Did I inspire you? Yes. Did I inspire you to start your own podcast, She's in the Game, with Hannah Darlington?
Not gonna lie, you actually did cross my mind because I think you were one of the first podcasts that I had been on. So, it definitely did cross my mind, and you reached out as well, offering space in the studio. So it was very kind of you, and we just kind of get it done in and amongst training. We've got the media center or the media room at cricket, and thanks for the shout out too. I love the segue there.
But I think it's one of the best women's cricket podcasts, and I'm not just saying that. I really enjoy it. It's great having two people in the game, and you do both give opinions, even though you're contracted players, which is refreshing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we have to be careful as to how much info we do give, but one thing that we just want to remain true and authentic, and it's all about providing that insight and behind the scenes as to what it's like as a female professional cricketer. And it's really cool when we get to tell our stories, but also share the stories of our teammates, and also give a bit of an idea as to like where we see the game growing, how we're feeling, and where the game could potentially go. And it's awesome to meet parents in the crowds, meet young girls who are fans of the show, and it's just really nice to know that we're having that inspiring impact on a younger generation, because when we were growing up, like there wasn't really podcasts around. There was obviously radio, but female cricket podcasts, like today I went to a female athlete project summit and got to meet other women from other sporting codes, and just to be able to connect and and meet them and talk about their experiences is really special. So to be a platform that's adding to that is really, really rewarding.
And have you enjoyed actually doing the podcast, and what is it sort of how have you grown doing it?
Yeah, we really enjoy it. It's definitely a challenge at times. We do everything ourselves. So Hannah is mainly the planner. So she usually gets on the Google Doc and types out the episode. Those bloody cockatoos, I tell you.
They get excited when you talk about your podcast.
Hannah does the planning, and then I did a degree in design, and I did a bit of media during that degree. And so I do the producing and editing, and I find that really rewarding because I love, going on YouTube. How do I do this? How do I do that? Oh no, my audio's bad. Like my lighting, like the video, and I really enjoy the challenge of that. And it's also nice, like you mentioned before, where obviously in the game and to have a little bit of control as to what I can kind of clip out. Is it's kind of like eases my mind in that sense. So it's nice to kind of have that. As much as it adds to the workload, it's something that helps us, have a bit of balance away from the game as well. Learning new skills, podcasting, and even just connecting with our friends a bit deeper as well. That's been really awesome.
Yeah, well, you should do some live ones one day. But with the connection with your deeper, and I've heard you've interviewed opponents, you interview international and state opponents, and I find it's very rare you actually sit down and talk about a lot of the stuff you talk about on a podcast with people. Like, you don't just sit down when you're having a coffee and say, "Oh, tell me about your journey into cricket." But I find the conversations I have within a podcast can, I don't know, really form a nice bond, and you really get to know somebody.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really cool to be able to ask my teammates their journey, and knowing that I've known them for however many years, like now finding out, hey, we actually had such a similar experience growing up, playing, our journey to playing professionally. So it's really nice to have those conversations and connect deeper. And I think that's one of the really cool things about the podcast is that we've got that relationship with players, and so we can create a space where they feel safe and comfortable to be able to talk and tell their story. So that's something that's really unique to us.
Well done. Congratulations. You've done a great job with it. And you're an all-round media star, commentating in the summer, got your podcast. Can I just ask you, have you had an Alex Hartley type situation where you say something slightly critical about a teammate or an opponent, and then they get upset at you? We've seen Starkey and Heels do it. Elisa Healy and Starkey, they get annoyed at each other. Have you said something about someone and went, "Oh no," and then they come back at you?
Look, maybe they just haven't listened to the podcast. No, I'm kidding. No, I mean, not really. I don't think so. I think, I'm obviously diplomatic in my answers, but I mean, no, I haven't. I don't think so.
Even on TV?
I guess we'll find out when this podcast gets released. We'll find out. On telly. Oh. No, I remember when I had back stressies, everyone was asking me what was going on, and I just didn't know what to say, so I just said secret, and it's like I copped a bit of stick from the girls, but no, I haven't had an Alex Hartley moment, and I kind of feel for her a little bit. I think it must be really tough knowing that the relationship that she's kind of built with her I guess ex-teammates is maybe the trust is kind of I don't really know. I do feel for her because she's just doing her job and she's just trying to keep it real.
Yeah, I said on the podcast, it's hard as well. I don't agree with not a player like Sophie Eccleston not doing an interview. Like, you just have to be professional. Your party contract is you have to do these things. You don't have to be mates afterwards or have a drink in the bar. But if you have to do an interview, you've got to do it. And if you're Alex Hartley and you're going to give opinions, sometimes people aren't going to like them. Trust me, people don't like a lot of the opinions on this podcast, but you've just got to accept that and move on.
Yeah, I think so. I think, it's really tough when it becomes personal because it is a professional space, and I think sometimes, like, I guess a series like the Ashes is very emotional and the rivalry is very strong, and sometimes you can just get caught up emotionally in that and not necessarily mean it. I guess when you kind of take a step back and look at the situation. So it is a bit disappointing, but I do also understand there is a lot of emotion. So
Well, the media and the players are at opposite ends. Like, as a player, you need to be positive. You need to move on to the next thing. If I'm your coach, I'm saying, put that shit behind you, move on, be positive. You got this, back yourself. And if you're in the media, you got to criticize and pick holes in things and be a dick sometimes. So you're interesting. And that's just those two things clash.
Yeah, I think you don't always have to be a dick sometimes, but I know what you mean. You just want to keep it real, and it is hard to find the balance between, I guess, being critical, but then also understanding, like, I guess, in a sense of like women's sport or women's cricket in particular, like you still want to kind of grow the game. And so how can you kind of push being critical, but also like having, I guess, that positive mindset as well?
Yeah. But Hartley's commenting on someone's fitness. That's never going to be well received. That's never going to be well received. No one likes to hear that. I don't like people when they tell me I need to lose weight. So it's never going to happen.
Yeah, toughie.
It is a toughie. Well, I'm sure so Maitlan, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. It's really been great to talk to you. First thing is, listeners, WNCL final this Sunday. If you're a Blues fan, a Breakers fan, you have to watch. Starts 2:35. Big chance for the New South Wales team to win for the first time since 2018-19. So fingers crossed, go well, have a great time. Where can the listeners, because we've got a lot of podcast listeners, find your podcast?
You can find our podcast called She's in the Game on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, but also connect with us on Instagram. We love to create a bit of a community there. So She's in the Game pod, or if you follow my personal one, I think they'll be in the bio or somewhere in my feed. So connect with us on socials, because it's really nice when we get to chat to our fans. And thanks for the shout out. Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. You're one of my favorite cricketers, so it's always great to talk to you. And listeners, we'll be back soon with another episode.